Welcome to this podcast in the Inclusive Diving series. Think you can't scuba dive if you have diabetes? Think again. With the right preparation, people with type 1 and type 2 diabetes can dive safely and confidently. In today's episode, we're breaking down the Diver's Guide to Diabetes by Dr. Mark Downes, covering the risks, safety protocols, and game-changing tips that make underwater exploration possible for divers with diabetes. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we plunge into complex topics to bring you the core insights, maybe some surprising facts, and hopefully enough interest to keep you hooked.
Yeah, absolutely.
Today we're exploring something really fascinating. It's this intersection of, well, human grit, medical advancements, and just the pure thrill of discovery. Imagine, just for a second, that huge silent world under the ocean. Beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Now imagine you have diabetes. For years, decades even, the answer to, can I scuba dive, was just a flat no.
A definite no.
But that story, it's completely changed.
It really has. And our main source today is this fantastic guide, Diving with Diabetes, a safety guide for students and instructors. It's from August 2025 by Dr. Mark Downes.
Okay.
And it's incredibly comprehensive. It lays out exactly how people with diabetes can safely get into this amazing activity.
Right.
It really tracks the evolution of medical thinking and the very careful rules that make it possible now. It's quite a journey.
So our mission for you today is to really unpack this guide. We want to pull out the key insights, give you that shortcut to understanding the precautions, the planning
The
involved,
detailed planning, yeah.
and the safety measures, all the things that ensure it's safe and, importantly, enjoyable for divers with diabetes. Get ready for some maybe surprising stuff and definitely a few aha moments.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, let's dive into that history first, because it wasn't always so straightforward.
Not at all.
The guide mentions that before the 1970s, diving with diabetes, especially insulin-dependent diabetes, well, it was strongly discouraged.
Yeah, the fear was pretty simple and, frankly, terrifying. Passing out underwater.
Exactly, loss of consciousness.
And what's really interesting, or maybe telling, is this moment in 1975, the UK actually brought in a formal ban.
A ban? Why?
It came after a really critical misdiagnosis. A diver had decompression sickness, the bends, but it was mistaken for hypoglycaemia, low blood sugar. So big reaction, formal ban. But here's the thing. Even with the ban, lots of diabetic divers just kept diving, but secretly.
Really?
Yeah, which kind of shows, doesn't it, that people needed proper guidance, not just to complete shutdown. Banning it just pushed it underground, which is often riskier.
That's incredible. It really speaks to that drive for adventure, but yeah, highlights how vital it was to figure out the how, not just say no. So you said things started changing.
They did, and here's where it gets really interesting. By 1991, the British Subaqua Club, they're a big deal.
Right.
They lifted that ban. They acknowledged the evidence that was building up, showing people were diving successfully.
Okay, so recognition started creeping in.
Exactly. And then by 1996, DAN, that's the Divers Alert Network, they did a survey, found nearly 200 of their members were already diving with diabetes.
200?
Yeah, and get this, 74% of them were insulin dependent. So it wasn't theoretical anymore. It was happening, and apparently happening safely enough that people were doing it.
Wow. So the question became less if and more, how do we make this official and safe?
Precisely. It raised that critical question, how can we regulate this properly? Which led Dan to do these really important observational studies in 1997.
And what did they find?
They found, generally effective blood sugar management among these divers, and actually very few incidents of serious hypoglycemia.
Okay.
But the real turning point, the moment things really solidified, was 2005. Dan and the Undersea and Hyperbaric Medical Society, the UHMS.
Oh, big players.
Yeah, they held a workshop. Experts got together and hammered out consensus guidelines. That's when the narrative really shifted from don't do it to here's how you can do it cautiously with the right information.
Okay, so we've traced that shift from prohibition to possibility. But let's get into the why. Why was it considered so risky? What are the actual dangers underwater for someone with diabetes?
Right, the core immediate worry is hypoglycemia. Low blood sugar. Underwater, that can spiral quickly. Confusion, disorientation, fatigue, worst case, passing out.
Which is obviously catastrophic underwater.
Absolutely. And the guide really highlights how tricky this is because the symptoms, they can look a lot like other diving issues.
Like what?
Like just being cold, or nitrogen narcosis, that sort of drunk feeling you can get at depth.
Oh, right. Rapture of the deep.
Exactly. So you might misinterpret the signs, or your buddy might, and that delays getting the sugar you desperately need. Critical time lost.
And it's not just about lows, is it? High blood sugar can be a problem too.
Definitely. Hyperglycemia or high blood sugar isn't good either. It can mess with your thinking, your cognitive function.
Not what you want when you're relying on focus and procedures.
Not at all. Plus, it can lead to dehydration, which is already a concern for divers. And in severe cases, it could even lead to something called diabetic ketoacidosis, or DKA.
Okay, explain DKA quickly.
Sure. It's a serious, life-threatening thing where your body, lacking insulin to use sugar, starts burning fat for fuel like crazy. This produces acids called ketones, which build up in the blood.
And that would be incredibly dangerous underwater, totally isolated.
Catastrophic, yeah. And beyond the blood sugar itself, diabetes can unfortunately increase the risk of heart problems, cardiovascular issues,
Right.
and the physical effort of diving, plus the pressure changes. It puts extra strain on the heart.
Okay.
Then there are the potential long-term complications of diabetes, things like retinopathy, which affects vision.
Which you obviously need underwater.
Critically,
Mm.
or neuropathy, nerve damage, which can affect feeling in your hands and feet, balance, control, all things you rely on as a diver. So careful management is just non-negotiable.
Okay, so given all those risks, it makes sense the screening is tough. What does it actually take to get medically cleared?
It's definitely rigorous, as it should be. The guide lays out some very specific criteria. First off, age. You need to be at least 18
Okay,
or 16, but only if you're in a special, very supervised training program.
got it.
Your medication needs to be stable, so at least 3 months if you're on oral meds, or a full year stable on insulin therapy.
A whole year on insulin.
Yeah, it shows long-term stability. And crucially, absolutely no severe hypoglycemic episodes in the past year.
And severe means.
It means you needed someone else to help you recover. Someone had to intervene.
Right.
And also no history of hypoglycemia unawareness. That's where you don't feel the usual warning signs of a low coming on.
Which would be incredibly dangerous if it happened underwater.
Extremely. The takeaway here is it's not about being cured. It's about demonstrating really stable, predictable control over your condition.
Makes total sense. What about the numbers? Are there specific blood sugar targets like HbA1c?
Yes, absolutely. Your HbA1c level, that's the measure of your average blood sugar over the last few months, needs to be 9% or lower. That's 63 millimole.
Okay. And that needs checking regularly.
Yep, within a month before your first assessment, and then every year at your review. It shows that consistent, good long-term control is vital, not just, a good number on the day of the dive.
Right. It's a bigger picture.
Exactly. And certain significant complications are disqualifying. Things like severe diabetic retinopathy, serious kidney damage, significant neuropathy, or major heart disease.
Because they just add too much risk in that environment.
Precisely. They compromise your ability to handle the unique stresses of diving. So you need an annual medical checkup, ideally with a doctor who knows diving medicine.
Makes sense.
And if you're over 40, they strongly recommend extra cardiovascular screening.
Okay, so you get the green light, you're medically cleared. How do you actually prepare for a specific dive? It sounds like a lot goes into it.
It is. Pre-dive prep is huge. It's almost like a ritual. Requires real discipline.
Okay.
The guide says aim for a blood sugar level between 8.3 and 13.9 millimole. That's 150 to 250 milli-GDL for those using those units. That's the target before you get in the water.
That's quite a specific range.
It is. And definitely don't dive if you're below 8.3 or if you're over 16.7, especially if you have ketones present in your urine or blood.
Right, that DKA risk again.
Yep. You might need to adjust your insulin beforehand, maybe reduce a dose. And eating a meal with complex carbs and protein about 1 to 2 hours before diving is a good idea.
Your sustained energy.
Exactly. Helps prevent a rapid drop.
And the testing schedule in the day. You mentioned checks.
Yeah, it's very specific. You test 1 hour before, then again 30 minutes before, and then one final check right before you actually put your gear on.
Wow, 3 checks.
That triple check gives you a clear trend and confirms you're in that safe zone right before you commit to the dive.
Okay. And gear-wise, what extra stuff does a diver with diabetes absolutely need to pack beyond the usual dive kit?
Think of it as your diabetes survival kit for the dive. Absolutely essential. Glucose tablets or gel, about 15 to 30 grams worth.
Okay.
And critically, it has to be in a waterproof container that you can actually open and use underwater if needed, or at least easily access the moment you surface.
Right. Accessibility is key.
Totally. Also, your blood glucose meter kept safe in a dry bag on the boat or shore, backup insulin just in case, ketone test strips, a medical ID bracelet or tag, super important so people know your condition immediately in an emergency, and written emergency instructions for your buddy or the dive leader.
Preparedness is everything.
It really is. Every item is there to manage a potential crisis quickly.
Okay, so you've done the prep, got the gear, now you're actually diving. Are there different rules underwater? Limits?
Yes, definitely. Start simple. That's the advice. Warm water, shallow sights, easy conditions, nothing too demanding.
Makes sense. Build up gradually.
Exactly. Depth is limited, maximum 30 meters, that's 100 feet. And dive time, keep it to 60 minutes or less.
Why those specific limits?
They're about managing physiological stress. Deeper dives, longer dives, they just increase the variables, increase the risks of unexpected glucose changes or other complications from the pressure and exertion.
Okay.
And absolutely no dives that require compulsory decompression stops.
Because you need to be able to surface directly if something goes wrong.
Precisely. Same reason for avoiding overhead environments. No caves, no going deep inside wrecks. You need a clear path to the surface at all times.
And the buddy system, how important is that interaction?
It's absolutely central. You have to dive with a buddy who knows you have diabetes, understands the risks, and is trained in what to do in an emergency.
Including giving a glucagon.
Yes, including how to administer glucagon if needed back on the surface. And the guide makes a really specific point here. Your buddy should not have diabetes themselves.
Oh, interesting. Why is that?
The thinking is you need your buddy to be fully focused and capable of helping you. If they're also managing diabetes, they might face their own issues, compromising their ability to assist. It ensures one person is solely dedicated to support, if needed.
That makes sense. One potential emergency at a time.
Exactly. And you must agree on clear, unambiguous hand signals beforehand, especially for, I feel low or I feel off, and we need to end this dive now.
Okay, so communication is key. But the big question, underwater, you can't just whip out your meter. How do you know if you're going low?
That really is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it comes down to, well, two things. Self-awareness and your buddy watching you like a hawk.
So feeling it yourself.
Yeah, you have to be really attuned to your body. Warning signs might be feeling shaky, suddenly confused, having trouble controlling your buoyancy, maybe lagging behind your buddy.
Or just acting.
All weird.
Yeah, unusually quiet, clumsy, maybe not responding normally. And the guide suggests a specific hand signal for low blood sugar, an L shape, made with your thumb and index finger.
Simple. Clear.
Exactly. It cuts through any potential confusion and signals I need help or let's go up. If anything feels off, for you or your buddy, the rule is simple.
Yeah.
End the dive. Safely, but end it. Don't push through.
Always err on the side of caution.
Always.
Okay, dive's over. You're back on the boat or shore. Is the danger over then?
Not quite. You need to test your blood sugar immediately.
Right away.
Yep. And then keep checking maybe every 30 to 60 minutes for the next few hours.
Why so often afterwards? Because exercise, like diving, can cause delayed hypoglycemia. Your blood sugar might drop hours after you've finished the activity.
Ah, the post-exercise effect.
Exactly. So have a snack with carbs and protein soon after the dive to help stabilize things. And keep drinking water. Hydration is really important for recovery, too.
It really sounds like a team effort, not just the diver managing their condition in isolation. What about the instructor and the buddy? What's their specific role?
Oh, it's huge. They are absolutely critical safety nets. Before the dive, the instructor needs to double check. Has the diver tested? Yes. Do I know what their specific signs of a low look like? Yes.
Yeah.
Do I know exactly where their emergency glucose and kit are? Yes.
So active confirmation.
Active confirmation. During the dive, their job is constant vigilance, watching for any unusual behavior, any signs of trouble, and being ready to call the dive immediately if needed.
Okay.
And after the dive, they should check in too. Ask about the blood sugar reading. Keep an eye out for those delayed symptoms we talked about. It's really about shared responsibility.
Right. And if the worst happens, hypoglycemia underwater, what's the actual emergency procedure?
Okay, if hypo is suspected underwater, the #1 priority is end the dive. Make a safe, controlled ascent.
Get to the surface.
Get to the surface. Give glucose immediately once they're out of the water and can swallow safely. Now, the guide adds an important point. If the diver has practiced taking glucose underwater in controlled training,
okay.
then taking it just before starting the ascent can actually speed up treatment. But that requires specific training and shouldn't be attempted otherwise.
Got it. And if the diver is unconscious?
If they're unconscious or, God forbid, seizing, then it's an immediate ascent. Get them to the surface fast, inflate your BCD, support them, shout for help, and get ready to administer glucagon once you're safely on the boat or shore.
The guide also seemed to really stress having the right emergency kit on hand.
Absolutely critical. So for the diver, that fast-acting glucose, easily reachable. On the surface, readily available. A glucagon emergency kit. That's usually a 1 milligram injection. Plus, backup glucose meters, the medical ID we mentioned, a proper first aid kit, including emergency oxygen, which is standard for dive operations anyway,
Right.
and reliable communication. VHF radio, maybe a satellite phone, depending on location. And all this gear needs proper care, kept waterproof, within temperature limits. It has to work when you need it.
This level of medical understanding and preparedness, it feels like instructors need specialized training beyond standard dive master courses.
Oh, absolutely. Standard first aid isn't quite enough. Dive-specific medical training is vital.
Like what?
Dan offers courses like DEMP Diving Emergency Management Provider or DFA Pro, Diving First Aid for Professional Divers.
Okay.
These cover the specifics. Recognizing hypoglycemia, how to give glucagon, and importantly, how to tell diabetic symptoms apart from things like decompression illness or narcosis.
Differentiating is key.
Crucial. These courses complement general first aid and CPR, like PADI's EFR or SSI's REACT,
Right.
and ongoing training, refreshers. They're essential. Medical knowledge fades if you don't use it or review it.
Okay, let's talk types of diabetes. Does it make a difference if someone has type 1 versus type 2? Does that change the risk?
It does, yeah, in some subtle but important ways. I mean, both types share the main risks we've discussed, hypo, potential heart issues.
Right.
But type 1 diabetes, because it always requires insulin, generally carries a higher inherent risk of rapid or unpredictable drops in blood sugar. Managing insulin doses around exercise and variable conditions like diving is just trickier.
And insulin pumps, can you dive with those?
That's another challenge for type 1. Most insulin pumps aren't designed for the pressure underwater. So the standard practice is to disconnect the pump before diving.
So you have no background insulin during the dive.
Well, you typically switch to manual injections for that period, or maybe suspend the pump's basal delivery for the duration of the dive, depending on the plan worked out with your doctor. It adds another layer of complexity to manage.
Okay. And what about type 2 diabetes?
For type 2 divers, especially those managing with just diet and exercise, or maybe with drugs like metformin that have a low risk of causing hypos, well, their risk of hypoglycemia is generally lower.
So potentially a bit easier to manage the glucose side.
Potentially, yes. However, if a person with type 2 diabetes uses insulin or certain oral medications called sulfonylureas,
Like gliclazide or glimepiride.
exactly, those drugs actively stimulate insulin production and can cause low blood sugar.
Yeah.
So if they're on those meds, their hypoglycemia risk becomes much more similar to someone with type 1.
Got it.
What you often see more with type 2, especially in older individuals, are those associated cardiovascular risks or issues related to weight. So the cardiac screening aspect might be even more emphasized for them.
Right, assessing the whole picture. The guide also mentioned continuous glucose monitors, CGMs. How do they fit in? They seem like a huge leap forward.
They really are a potential game changer. CGMs, as you know, track glucose levels constantly in real time, usually via a sensor under the skin.
So can you use them underwater?
Well, here's the catch. Most current CGMs aren't officially approved or rated for underwater use because of the pressure. It can affect their accuracy or function.
Ah, okay. So not a magic bullet for diving then.
Not for during the dive, necessarily. Not yet reliably, anyway. But they are incredibly valuable around the dive.
How so?
For tracking your glucose trends before you dive, seeing if you're stable, rising, or falling. During surface intervals between dives gives you a much clearer picture than just finger sticks. And after the dive, helping you catch those delayed lows.
So better data for decision making.
Exactly. The guide mentions some studies looking into this and suggests calibrating the CGM with a finger stick before and after diving to check its accuracy, given the pressure exposure. It definitely enhances safety by giving you more information, more warning of potential issues. It's a powerful tool in the overall management strategy.
This whole deep dive into, well, diving with diabetes, it really has shown this amazing mix of medical science, personal discipline, sheer determination, and that human desire for adventure.
It really has.
It's clearly not just about managing a health condition. It's about mastering a completely different, challenging environment while doing so.
Absolutely. And, you know, if we zoom out a bit, connect this to the bigger picture.
Yeah.
All that meticulous planning we talked about.
Yeah.
The constant monitoring, the vigilance, relying on a well-trained buddy and support system. That whole framework outlined in the guide. It's not just for scuba diving, is it?
That's a great point. You're saying these principles have wider application.
I think so. It really makes you think, doesn't it? What other areas of your life, maybe professional, maybe personal challenges, could benefit from that same level of, proactive preparation, that kind of real-time awareness or monitoring, and having that strong, informed support network around you?
Yeah. Thinking about how those principles, that self-awareness, the detailed prep, the teamwork, how they could empower you in pretty much any complex or high-stakes situation you might face, that's a really powerful thought to end on.
Food for thought, definitely.
Well, that ends another podcast. We hope that you now have a better understanding of how those with diabetes may safely scuba dive. Next time we will be talking about diving for those with neurodiversity. We hope that you will join us for this interesting podcast. Until then, safe diving.